As you guys can see, we are playing Pokemon Sword on our Android device in the SUYU Emulator. We are getting more than 50 FPS. Let's get started. Yo, what's up guys, it's ApTreX here. Welcome to the official gameplay test of SUYU Nintendo Switch Emulator on Android. In today's video, we'll be trying to emulate various games on our Android devices on the latest SUYU Emulator Android build. Now let me tell you guys that this emulator hasn't officially been launched and you cannot try it out right now. I am using an self-compiled build of SUYU Emulator Android. You will have to build it yourself, or else you will have to wait for 2 to 3 weeks until we get the first ever official release build of SUYU Emulator. Let me show you guys the version of SUYU Emulator which I am using for today's video. So yeah, right here you will be able to see the version. It is a bit complicated, but nonetheless it gets the job done. In the upcoming updates of SUYU Emulator, we'll also be getting Q Launcher support, which means that you can get Nintendo Switch UI in the SUYU Emulator Android, which is very amazing. Like you see right here, it is from a beta version of SUYU Emulator. One of the main developers who is working on Android build has added an merge request for Q Launcher support in SUYU Emulator. So yeah, that feature will be coming pretty soon, and once that happens, I'll make sure to upload a video on it and let you guys know. Anyways, let's go to advanced setting in system. As you guys saw, we have the new device name option. Limit speed percentage will turn it off, dock mode will keep it enabled. In terms of graphics, accuracy level is normal. We'll set the resolution to 0.75x as we used to with the previous emulator. VSync mode has been turned off, FSR sharpness is 25, vertical alignment is center, and will enable force maximum clocks and asynchronous shaders. In terms of debug settings, CPU backend is set to native code execution. And yeah guys, those are going to be the best settings for SUYU Emulator Android. I'll be also using an custom graphics driver, the Mesa Turnip Adreno driver, and unfortunately its development has also been stopped. If you guys didn't already know, the developer has decided to stop the development of custom drivers. By the way, in terms of settings, we also get the control mapping option where we can map our controls properly. So right here in player 1, as you can see, just like the Skyline emulator, we have an entire mapping system. For the first game which we'll be trying out, it is going to be our favorite game, which is Pokemon Sword and Shield on Android. We'll be figuring out if it is actually better than the previous emulator or not. Let's just go ahead and select the character, and let me just go ahead and go back to settings and make sure to disable limit speed percentage. It gets enabled automatically. That's a bug. Selected stretch to window as usual, but unfortunately there is some issue because as you just saw, it was like stretching the entire gameplay image. But now we are getting an proper aspect ratio. So let me just go ahead and input the name, and then we'll just go ahead and select it. And one thing which you'll notice is even after disabling speed limit percentage, at the top left corner we are still getting around 60 FPS. So it's not going past 60 FPS, unlike the other emulators in which we disable speed limit and it goes berserk to like 2 to 300 FPS. And yeah, the gameplay is pretty smooth and stable. There are no visible graphical issues as expected, and it is running flawlessly. I'm not using a save file, and there will be some frame drops when it is actually compiling shaders, so that is to be expected. The main reason why we are checking out the cutscene is because, as you know, previously there used to be some graphical issues in cutscenes like we just saw. So yeah, those are still present. As I told you guys before, SUYU Emulator is in its alpha stages, so it won't be much better than the previous emulator. And especially the Android builds, Android developers are very limited for SUYU. So they are mainly working on the Windows version for now, and it will take us a good amount of time to see some improvements and changes in its upcoming updates. But as you guys can see, the game just froze, so unfortunately we'll need to restart it. Alright guys, for the next test, I have just imported the save file. So with that being said, let's try reopening the game and see how well does it actually work. There we go, presented by Game Freak, and yeah, the game is about to begin. You restart the SUYU Emulator, the limit speed percentage will be turned on by default, and there we go guys, our game has successfully started, and it is surprising, we are getting almost 53 FPS. So yeah, we are getting a really smooth experience. I actually didn't expect this. I think we are getting more FPS than previously, so that's a bit surprising. And I can also see the textures have been downscaled by quite a lot. There is also shadows graphical issues, so I'm not really sure what's wrong with it. Let's just go ahead and open settings and try changing some other options like enabling dock mode, graphics accuracy level, setting it to high, and yeah, FSR sharpness is 25. Let's just go ahead and set it to 83%. And yeah, once all of this has been done, let's go back to check if there are some improvements. FPS bar, as you just saw, has decreased drastically. So obviously the settings which I was using previously were much better for providing best amount of performance possible. So definitely guys, be sure to check out the settings which I just showed you guys. So yeah guys, Pokemon Sword works perfectly fine, but in terms of graphical output, there are some graphical issues like the sunlight is not being rendered properly, and yeah, basically just rendering issues. You might be able to see that the graphics resolution is super low, like just take a look at this, nothing is visible. Maybe that's the main reason why we are getting so amazing FPS. Anyways, let's just go ahead and head back, exit emulation, and try out some different games like Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles. By the way guys, it is definitely recommended that you use an Mesa Turnip Adreno driver, or else you will see lot of graphical issues while emulating this game on Android. So graphical output is not proper without any graphics driver if you try playing it without any graphical drivers, but other than that you will be able to see that we are getting a very smooth 30 FPS straight up gameplay, no lags whatsoever, and not even a single frame drop when we try to use a graphical intensive move. So yeah, this game also works fabulously on the SUYU Emulator Android. Let's exit emulation and try out our final game, which is going to be FIFA 23. Alright, there we go guys, FIFA 23 has also started. It is expected. Let's just go ahead and start a kickoff match and see if there are any graphical issues like we used to see with the previous emulator. So there we go, Kylian Mbappe, and yeah, for some reason with FSR sharpness set at 25%, the graphics quality is pretty poor. Anyways, let's just go ahead and start a match, and yeah, there we go. There are some graphical issues as I mentioned before. The stadium side and the characters which are not on the page are blackened out, so that's pretty unfortunate, but the amount of FPS which we are getting is really fabulous. Just take a look at this, we are getting straight up 60 FPS, no issues whatsoever. So definitely in the performance part, it is pretty stable, unlike some other emulators which don't even support FIFA games like Skyline Enhanced Infinity Emulator, etc. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification. I'll see you guys next time when this emulator has been officially launched. Goodbye.